What breeding strategies or theories did you incorporate as you were establishing your bloodline?
I wanted to incorporate, like in 5 generations of dogs, I would probably have that main dog 5 or 6 times in that pedigree. You know, what you have to remember on this, you cannot start with a mediocre dog. You must use spectacular animals. And it's like Lloyd Brackett said in his book, the main foundation, breeding dogs, physical compensation should be your main foundation for an enduring worth in your breeding program. And I strongly believe that.
Welcome to the Better Breeder Chronicles, brought to you by Easy Whelp Premium Whelping Boxes. Elevate your breeding program with Easy Whelp. In today's episode, we visit with Guy Mauldin of Kismet Shetland Sheepdogs. Based out of Richmond, Texas, Guy and his wife Thelma are some of the most iconic and respected breeders in the Sheltie breed, with their success stretching over 50 years. Guy and Thelma have bred and owned nearly 300 American champions, including many of the breed's top producers. As a handler, Guy won 99 Best in Shows with Shelties, more than anyone in history. If you've ever been to his office, you have seen the walls covered in red, white, and blue ribbons. And even after a decorated half-century of success, they continue to accomplish more. They were awarded the 2021 AKC Herding Group Breeders of the Year, and their dog, Platinum Grand Champion Kismet Legendary, won Best of Breed at the 2023 ASSA National Specialty. But perhaps an even greater impact than their dogs have made has been the personal impact that they have made on the many individuals who've worked for them and they've mentored. Individuals who have then gone on to great success in the world of purebred dogs. Myself being one of those lives whose path in dogs was indelibly shaped by the Mauldins' influence. Guy's famous quotes, including, "Cleanliness is next to godliness," and "Cute isn't in the standard," ring in all of our years, decades later. Those who know Guy and Thelma describe them as wise, generous, disciplined, and patient people, but always pushing you to become the greatest version of yourself and to understand the breed standard more thoroughly. Join me now in welcoming the master of Kismet, Guy Mauldin. Guy, welcome to the podcast, and thank you for sharing the Kismet story with us today.
My pleasure.
If you would, take us back to the beginning. How did you get started in purebred dogs?
Well, I'd always loved collies, read all the Albert Pace and Terhune books, and that's what I really wanted. But we lived in a duplex, so we got there and they had 2 tricolor heavily coated champions that were also performance trained. So they ran them through their repertoire and we were blown away. So we took home a tricolor bitch from that litter. She was very intelligent, trained her in obedience a little bit. We both got trained in that. When she passed away, we decided that we wanted to get a show dog. There were only 2 breeders of any note in Texas at that time. That was Louis Carrico, Collies and Shetland Sheepdogs, and Clem and Kitty Ricano of Aaron K. Shelties. Aaron K.'s dogs were based primarily on Astalot and Seal. And Louis Carrico's dogs had all come from Betty Whelan and Pocono kennels. So, but after talking to both, we knew that Louis was the guy to go to for information.
As your first mentor?
Yeah, he was our first mentor. So he lived in Austin. We lived in Midland, which was about a 6 or 7 hour drive. Several weekends, we drove to Austin on Friday night, stayed up talking to Louis till time to leave about noon on Sunday, going over all of his dogs, talking about breeding philosophies, the standard, going over dogs, having things explained to me. I was kind of like a sponge. We didn't sleep. Louis and I stayed up and talked all night. But he was a great mentor. What attracted us to him is that in late, I don't even remember how long ago it was, but he had a beautiful tricolor Shetland Sheepdog. And he won the working group at the Garden with that dog. Her name was Champion Caraco's Port of Entry. And I think that's probably the first Shetland Sheepdog that ever won the group, especially the working group. But he was a fountain of information. Not only that, he was the predominant handler in the state. And so we talked about trimming, grooming, breeding, picking puppies, the whole 9 yards. He was a great source of information.
What would you say was his biggest impact on you personally?
Learning how to recognize the pieces of the dog, the head, the balance, the structure.
So, Guy, it's well known the foundation of Kismet was a dog named Champion Bankery Highborn. Can you share with our listeners the story of finding and obtaining Highborn?
When Highborn was a puppy, I saw a picture of him in a dog Sheltie magazine, and I told Thelma, this is the kind of dog I'm going to breed. Later, it turned out he finished at the National Specialty in California, and we were there to see it. He was a beautiful dog. Not perfect, but beautiful. So when he finished, we approached Donna Olson and asked her if she would consider leasing him. And she kind of poo-pooed it and said, no, not at all. So a couple of months later, we had a champion bitch that came in season, and we sent her up to be bred to Highborn. And I guess she was impressed with that bitch. Anyway, she called me back and said, I would stand in stud if you'll split the stud piece with me. I said, fine, send him. He was just a striking dog with elegance and balance and beautiful head detail. So Highborn came to us. I traveled all over the United States showing the dog at specialties, and he never lost a specialty. He was really acclaimed as probably the best head priest in the breed. And then he sired a son called Conquistador, who had an equally spectacular headpiece. So the Sheltie people used to argue over which one had the better head, Highborn or Conquistador.
Did you have an opinion on that?
Well, of course, I always loved Highborn because he was the foundation of what we were striving for, and through his sons and daughters, we were able to maintain that.
So talk about that a little bit. So you had Highborn, you mentioned several sons. With that early foundation, how did you create the Kismet family of Shelties?
Well, through his sons and daughters, we were able to double and quadruple and triple on him through generations of pedigrees. The first son that we kept was Conquistador. But since that time, we've had so many. Champion Royal, Flush of Kismet, Dynasty, Status Quo. Donnie won the National as a puppy, winner's dog, and then a few years later, he won the breed. It was just a spectacular moving dog. But there have been so many. Dynasty, legendary, National Specialty winner, multi-best in show winner, Silver Chalice. He was a beautiful blue dog, and he did tremendous winning in specialties and groups. He never won a best in show. We had several dogs that did, so that was okay.
What breeding strategies or theories did you incorporate as you were establishing your bloodline?
We used primarily grandfather, granddaughter, half brother, half sister, father, granddaughter, or father and mother, granddaughter. So I wanted to incorporate, like in 5 generations of dogs, I would probably have that main dog 5 or 6 times in that pedigree. You know, what you have to remember on this, you cannot start with a mediocre dog. You must use spectacular animals. And it's like Lloyd Brackett said in his book, the main foundation breeding dogs, physical compensation should be your main foundation for an enduring worth in your breeding program. And I strongly believe that.
As the years went by and generations, did you find yourself using different breeding strategies, such as outcrossing, or did you simply continue to use the same ones over and over?
We bought a couple of dogs that were outcrossed, primarily for coat factoring and expression, and we were able to bring that in. But when you outcross, you have to immediately go back into your own family with that progeny. You don't want to lose all of the structure and the outline and the elegance that you've spent generations building.
Fellow breeders, see what your breeding program has been missing with Easy Whelp modular whelping boxes. From the durable Easy Classic design to the spacious Easy Classic Tall, Easy Whelp sets a new standard for premium design and performance. Their innovative models are developed for simple setup and maximum safety, with features like integrated safety rails to protect your next generation. The smooth, hygienic surface allows for quick wipe downs to maintain a sanitary environment. The new windowed wall option provides the next level of safety, confidence, and convenience. No tools are required for assembly, which comes in handy if time is short in those critical moments. Elevate your breeding program today. Visit easywhelp.com. Can you share any of your insights into your selection process and how you would choose the individual dogs to move forward with from each breeding?
I always tried to select the best bitches because we had the pillar stud dog, and we would work those back and forth between sons and daughters and all. I mean, not sons and daughters, but we would work it back and forth, utilizing the strengths of highborn in every breeding that we did. And it was successful. I think it was successful.
When you did do those outcrosses, were you of a mind to select the puppies that had the specific virtues you did the outcross for?
Of course, why would you do it? Of course, select the one with the closest.
Or what would happen if the dogs with those virtues you selected for were not the best puppies in the litter?
Well, I probably wouldn't take it, to tell you the truth, but I strove to find the best one that contained the virtues that I wanted from the breed. If I didn't have that, I didn't keep any of them.
What, in hindsight, do you think was the biggest challenge or setback that you ever faced with your breeding program?
I don't know. Once we really got highborn and started incorporating him into our breeding program, we really haven't had a lot of bad results. You've been here, you know that very similar look. I have people tell me all the time that they're walking their dog in the park and people stop on the side of the road and say, "Is that a Kismet dog?" So I think the outline and the balance and the elegance is very easily distinguishable.
So there are some very iconic names associated with Kismet. You've already mentioned Highborn, Conquistador, Royal Flush. I would like you to talk a little bit more of some of those most notable dogs and what made them great Shelties.
Well, Status Quo, he was winner's dog. He was right up to size. So we showed him in the bred by exhibitor class at the National, and he was winner's dog. The weekend before, he won the Houston Specialty and the Houston All Breed Show. So that left him at 14 points. Got home, entered him in the first show we could. He was best of breed at that show and got a group 2. And then we never showed him much anymore. You know, we had too many other youngsters coming along.
Okay.
I mean, one year we finished 19 champions. So that's kind of a lot of good dogs to show. Royal Flush was a super little show dog. He was a blue highborn son. He wound up with like 48 breasts in shows. He went 76 working group 1s and 75 herding group 1s. So he went best in show, almost 1 out of every 3 shows where he won the group. So
incredible.
It was an incredible little dog. Not our best Shetland Sheepdog, but he was our best show dog. Beautiful dog.
Like you had mentioned, Kismet always seemed to have those great stud dogs. Talk a little bit about the great Kismet bitches because you've had many of them.
Well, Kismet's Rubiot was one of them. She never finished because she had a little lower ear set, but she was a dam of 13 champions, all sired by Highborn. So that was a wonderful click. And one thing I learned from Luis Carrico is if you find a good click, you don't change horses in the middle of the string. And I've always believed that.
Guy, you are also an incredibly accomplished professional handler. I believe you won more best in shows with the Sheltie than anyone else. You handled a pretty notable Sheltie that made its mark at Westminster. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
That was champion Rodan's a Windwalker. I'd been showing AC for a couple of years, and you could tell the judges were maybe getting a little tired of him in this area. So a friend wanted to take him and show him in another area, and I agreed to take champion Rodan's a Windwalker from Kathy Smoots. He came in a Wednesday. We went to the San Antonio Specialty on Sunday, won the breed there, flew out to Westminster, won the breed there. It was an interesting story. I don't know if I should tell it or not, but
this is the place to tell it.
Everybody in the herding group had come into the ring and they were sitting up by their platform. And then this German Shepherd dog, his name was Manhattan.
Champion Covey, Tucker Hills, Manhattan.
I don't know his full name, but it was Manhattan. And he thunderous applause. I mean, tremendous applause, which was the way it was planned. He was supposed to go best in show that night. All the stuff was out. He was the dog. And that German judge lady didn't like the fact that he was showcasing. She'd already started down the line looking at the dogs when he came charging in and the thunderous applause. My son was there with my wife up in the stands, and he kept telling her, I think Dad's going to win this, Mom. And she said, there is no way he's going to beat Manhattan. I did pay a price for that. A lot of judges did not like the fact that I had beaten the dog that was supposed to go best in show.
A little bit of a backstory there, too. Manhattan had won the group the year before and then proceeded to win the group for the next 2 years afterwards as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't follow his career because it's hard to get past Jimmy Moses in the herding group.
The Better Breeder Institute serves the purebred conservation dog breeding community. Purposeful dog breeders dedicated to the preservation and advancement of their breed. Our mission is to empower breeders through education, enabling them to transform their breeding programs and achieve their highest goals. As breeders ourselves, we honor your dedication, we celebrate your vision, and we provide you with the tools to overcome any challenge in your program. Our resources, digital courses, and services will set you apart, helping you achieve excellence in your breeding and business practices. At the Better Breeder Institute, we're committed to preserving the legacy and protecting the future of purebred dogs. We're shaping a future where conservation breeders are recognized as the best source for healthy, beautiful, and predictable puppies. Learn how to strengthen your breeding program at betterbreeder.org. Guy, one of my favorite Kismet stories is that of Pajero. I think you would call it a stroke of luck or fortune, but could you tell that story for our listeners?
Yes, we were invited to go to Tokyo by Yoshimori and his wife and do a seminar for the Japanese Collie breeders, and we agreed to go, only if we could go first class. I said, so how many brochures and things do I need to put together? And he said, oh, probably 25. A week later, he called up and he said, no, I think it's going to be closer to 50. Anyway, it turned out to be over 100 people showed up for the symposium. And at the end of the symposium, Thelma judged a Collie match, and I judged the Shelties. When this dog walked into the ring, I knew the dog. I knew he had to be family. I wound up giving him a breed over all their Japanese best in show dogs. I asked the woman if she would sell him, and he said, "Oh, no, not for sale." So when we get home, about a week later, I get a call from Irene Oishi of Kismet Shelties in Canada. And she said, "I hear you liked my dog." I said, "What dog is that?" And she said, "The one you just gave the breed in Japan." I said, "No, I didn't like him. I loved him. He goes back to highborn, you know." I said, "Well, I knew that, but I didn't know, I didn't know his pedigree, but I knew he had to be family." And she said, "Would you consider taking him and finishing him in the States and having him a stud there?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." Very happy to do that. So he came in a little fat, didn't feed him much for the first week, and then we took him to Tulsa, Oklahoma. 4 shows. He won all 4 of them to finish his American title. Barbara Linden was one of the breeder judges, and Linda Churchill. I don't remember who the others were, but that finished his title. We bring him back home, and he goes best in show the first weekend out under Dorothy Welch. So he was a beautiful dog. Beautiful.
Gorgeous dog.
Got him here. We had a young lady working for us named Lisa Porch, and she was the pedigree nut. I mean, she could do or find anything you wanted to know about any pedigree. So I said, "Lisa, I want you to go 15 or 18 generations back and tell me how many times this dog goes to highborn, crosses to highborn." You want to take a guess?
I think I had some inside information. Was it 55?
For 200 times it crossed to highborn.
In how many generations?
18 generations.
Wow.
That's a lot of dogs. So that really gave us a big opportunity to bring that gene pool up really, really close. And he had the same virtues. He was a little more dog, but he was very highborn looking. So he did quite well at the specialties.
Can you speak a little bit about his impact too, not just on your breeding program, but the entire breed?
He was not as heavily used as highborn was. At highborn's prime, he was used from all over the country, but Pajero sired, he was a definite ROM. I think he had 18 or 19 champions. He was a dog that produced his look. I mean, many of the dogs that came on to be prominent in our breeding program, like Silver Chalice and Legendary, beautiful Legendary, Champion Successor. All of those are some of my favorites, and they're beautiful detail of head, elegance, outline, and mainly balance. You know, you got to have balance.
So you just mentioned Legendary. That was another dog that I'd like you to speak to more recently, and ended up being quite a historic Sheltie, Kismet Legendary. Can you share Eli's story?
We sold him as a puppy, a co-ownership in him, to a lady in Denver. Tracy Haggerty was her name. They sent him down to Mindy Gleason to finish, and he finished quickly. And Mindy tried to get backers and wasn't able to find anybody that could afford to special the dog. So Tracy got Marty and Michelle Miller to take the dog. And I'm not sure, I think he had like 18 best in shows, but the most thrilling win he had was going best of breed at the national specialty over 600 plus Shelties. He's a beautiful dog. Even still, I saw where they took him out last weekend for a couple of shows, and he won both days. So he's a really sweet, very Sheltie temperament, very intelligent, very loving. And that's what drew us to the breed. They're so loving and intelligent.
And in my mind, those national specialty wins just trump everything else.
For sure. And I would have bet money against it because the woman always put up sables. So here she is taking this blue dog with blue eyes and giving him the breed. But he's doing some beautiful siring for us and others. So, and we need to stop breeding. But every breeding we make, the puppies are better than the litter before. So how can you stop doing How can you stop producing those beautiful dogs?
I'd say something is working.
Yeah, well, it's been quite a trip.
Elevate your breeding program with Easy Whelp Solutions. Easy Whelp's innovative modular whelping boxes set a new standard for premium design and performance. Their washable, eco-friendly pads are more absorbent than the competition, keeping your whelping area clean and hygienic. And Easy Whelp Heat Combo ensures your puppies stay warm and healthy. Easy Whelp also carries a full line of whelping products, including box liners, feeding stations, whelping bundles, and video monitoring systems. Raise the bar in your breeding program. Visit easywhelp.com today. Guy, thinking back over your story, what do you feel was the greatest accomplishment in your breeding program?
Maybe the fact that we bred and owned over 295 American champions. We had 23 dogs that were ROMs, both dogs and bitches. I really got quite a thrill out of showing Pajero to a 3,500 dog best in show at Fort Worth Kennel Club. And I cannot even tell you the judge's name, but as we were walking to get the picture, he said, "Mr. Mauldin, to my mind's eye, and from all the seminars and symposiums I have attended, this dog is the closest thing to perfection I've ever seen."
With all the success and the awards that both you and Thelma have received, what are you most proud of?
There's been a lot of highs in it for both of us, and I guess I'm most proud of the consistency and the look and the continuation of litter after litter, having several show puppies in it.
All right, Guy, thank you so much. Appreciate you sharing the Kismet story with us. That's it for this chapter of the Better Breeder Chronicles. We hope you found the Kismet story with Guy Mauldin insightful and that it will inspire you to pursue your highest goals in your breeding program. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. At the Better Breeder Institute, we encourage all conservation dog breeders to embrace your fellow breeders as partners and collaborators rather than competitors and rivals. With the unprecedented challenges we all face today, successful breeding programs can no longer operate on an island. Our purebred dog breeder community must come together, with everyone pulling in the same direction. This is crucial if we're going to successfully preserve and advance our beloved breeds. I'm Matt Stelter, closing the book for today. Best wishes to you and your breeding program from all of us at the Better Breeder Institute. We'll see you in the next chapter. Take care.